cell phones. Also, those of you that are here for Coach Grove's class, I have your sign-in sheet, so make sure you see me before you leave. This program tonight is sponsored in part or mostly by the ODAC. So tonight, Mr. Mitrano, who is Commissioner of the Empire 8 Athletic Conference and also President of the United States Intercollegiate Lacrosse Association, is going to be speaking to us tonight. He earned his bachelor's degree in communication and journalism from St. John Fisher College and his master's in physical education from the College of Rockport. He does a lot of traveling, speaks to a lot of groups on several different topics, and I'd like for you to give him your undivided attention tonight as he talks to us about sportsmanship. So please welcome Dr. Thomas.
Thanks. Thank you, Melissa. Thanks, Myra and the ODAC for having me here tonight. I appreciate the fact that you're taking time out of your schedule, which I know is always busy, to be here as well. And so I want to make sure that you get as much out of this program as possible. So part of that is you have to also challenge yourself, right? You have to challenge what your belief system is, how you act, how you conduct yourselves, how your teammates conduct themselves. And really think critically about it, because that's the only way you're going to change either you, your team, or your culture. Okay, so that's important. So number two, please understand that I will potentially say some things that will make you uncomfortable. Right? It might challenge you. It might say, hey, you know, I don't like the way he approached me on this. Right? But again, I'm trying to get you to think differently about sportsmanship. And I think when we're done with this conversation, I'm pretty confident you won't see sportsmanship the same way you did at this very moment. So sportsmanship touches many different aspects of athletics, but also life. And one really important topic, especially for athletes, and we can talk about it generally in society, is reputation. Reputation for you as an individual, reputation of your team, reputation of your institution. Okay? So how many of you have ever built a sandcastle? Right? So what happens when you build a sandcastle? You really take your time and you make an intricate sandcastle, and you spend a lot of hard work and a lot of hard effort to put it into it, and you have a nice, it might be a castle, it might have a lot of detail, right? But then what happens to the sandcastle? Speak up. It gets washed away, right? And it's important to understand that that's your reputation. The reality is, as student athletes and as teams, probably 99% of what you do is positive, is constructive. All it takes is one bad incident, and your reputation is ruined. And it's not just you as an athlete, it's you as a person, it's you as a professional someday when you get out into the working world. And there's countless examples of that today in modern society. Lance Armstrong, right? Greatest athlete, he was a world-renowned bicyclist, an American hero. Guess what? He cheated the entire time. And now what is his reputation? It's dirt. Right? He sacrificed his integrity because he wanted that success. He wanted the win, he wanted the money. And that's okay, but now he paid the consequence of that. Same gas is gone. Give you some other examples. How about Tiger Woods? Not great, right? Who else has some examples? Ray Rice. So we're obviously not at a loss to find you these examples, right? They're not. And I can guarantee you, you can think of probably someone in this room or someone on another team you played against that has that reputation. Right? Listen up. Everybody plays that team in their conference that has that reputation as their dirty team, right? They're chippy, they take cheap shots, they trash talk. Everybody knows that team. Or the fans, you know the fans at that institution, you know when you go there, you're going to hear it, right? So that's all about reputation. And you have to think carefully about reputation for you, for your team, for your culture. You see, when I come and I speak about sportsmanship, I know you all have a preconceived notion, right? You all came here and said, he's going to come here and he's going to talk about being a good sport and helping guys up or helping gals up after they get knocked down and shaking hands after the game, right? You're wrong. What is, if you're a soccer player, raise your hand. Okay, young lady with the glasses. What happens if you get a red card in soccer?
Kicked out.
Kicked out of the game and? You sit out. can't shoot well. But the game is on the line, I'm going to put him in there to shoot. Why would you do that? That's going to, statistically, the information all sees them. Why would that be the person who's going to score on? Not a great strategic move. So for every minute that you're on the floor or on the field of play and you're spent focusing your energy on something you have no control over, you're counterproductive to your goal of winning. Right? So I see a lot of coaches who are working officials, right, which is a cop-out because they basically, it's an ego versus an ego. It's not about working the officials. There's constructive ways to do that. Right? Same for you as a player. There's constructive ways to communicate with officials that are going to be beneficial to you. But every moment that is spent doing that is a moment where you're not putting your team in a position for success. I had a coach in my league. In fact, I still have a coach in my league. And he would call me or send me an email after almost every game. Send me clips of the officiating. Look at this, look at this. They missed this hand check. They missed this, they missed that. Right? I actually was blamed for them not making the conference tournament because of the way the schedule was made. My fault. Not his player's fault, not his fault as a coach. My fault. I didn't get the bonus though when they won the championship. He didn't say, hey, thanks for making the schedule that night. You helped us win the championship, right? And it wasn't my fault. But I go down to the campus, I meet with him, and you can see him in frame, constantly yelling at the officials. The game is going on, he's doing this here, he's throwing his jacket down, right? He's going nuts. And I say, stop. I go, look what you've done all game, you've got none of those calls back, you have no idea what your team is doing. You can be a better in-game coach if you actually focus on the game. Your team is going to be in a better position for success if you help them to put them in a position strategically. He doesn't know that they're getting out-rebounded, he doesn't know that they're missing all the shots, that they may not be setting the screens properly, that they may not be running out because he's consumed with this official, and it's the official's fault. And so if we apply that to society, you know, everybody talks about how everybody has a handout. They want this, they want that. It's not their fault. Nobody wants to work hard for anything. But suddenly, if we say that in the arena of sports, it's okay. Yeah, the officials are terrible. That's why we lost the game. We lost the game because so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. Look in the mirror. What did you do? Right? Everything that you're doing as student athletes right now is setting you up for success or for failure when you graduate. You have no idea how fortunate you are to be in a position to be a student athlete at the collegiate level. Because the biology major doesn't have the opportunity to face adversity, to react to it, to respond to it in real time. They don't have the ability to work as a team towards a greater good. You don't get that sitting in the classroom. And you're getting it now as athletes, and it's molding you as leaders, as individuals, as people. So guess what? All those things we just talked about, how does that relate to the working world? If you're working a job, you're part of a team. You have to learn to get along with different personalities, with different relationships. You have to work collectively towards a greater goal. You have to be selfless. You have to have discipline. The best teams, the best athletes are the most disciplined. They eat best, they train the best, they take supplements the right way, they sleep, everything is on point. They're the best, and it's not by accident, it's because of hard work. So when something bad happens, you can't sit there and say, it's someone else's fault, it's this fault. No. It has to compel you to want to be better. It has to compel you to want to work harder. And so everything that we're talking about is really, it's process related. Right? Because everything that you do, when you show up to the game, all the hard work has already happened. It happened in the off-season when you were training. It happened in practice when you're working on specific skill sets, when you're working on specific offense or specific defense. Now it's just execution. That's all process. But let's talk about team goals. So how many of you have team goals? Okay, share with me some of your team goals. So you don't have team goals? You were just lying to me? Win a championship. Win nationals. Support each other. Great point, Amber. So a lot of goals are outcome specific, right? We want to win this, we want to win that, we want to win. But what if, in the process of winning, you sacrifice your integrity? Or you don't honor your teammates, or your coach, or your institution? Is it really a victory? Said yes. So we would accept the same logic then of someone who's working on Wall Street, and their goal is outcome. They want to make a lot of money, and in the process of doing that, they also rip off a lot of people. Right? It's okay. The goal is this, and I got the goal, so it doesn't matter what happened in the process. Of course that's not true, right? So it's really important that you, as an individual, but also as a team, you have to have process goals. Because if you do achieve that outcome, but you didn't fulfill those values that you stand for as individuals and as a team, you've let yourselves down. The process is what guides success. Coach doesn't just show up to a game without having any practices or any training in the off season and say, go out there and get it. And hopefully we'll get a win. Nope. Strategic, it's planning. So what I want you to do right now is, hopefully you're sitting within reach of your team. And I know football is probably scattered throughout, so you can, each have your own sessions. You don't have to move everybody around. But I want you to think about 3 to 4 things that define you as an individual. You, individually, what are some of your values? This is what I'm all about. For me, it's hard work, respect, support, selflessness. Those are the 4 things that I really strive to do every single day I do anything. That's my goal. That's what defines me as a person. And if I've done something and I didn't honor those 4 things, I failed. So I want you to take a piece of paper or just use your phone and just write down 3 to 4 things that you as an individual that define you, those values. I'll give you about 4 or 5 minutes for that, and then we'll get back together. To share what some of their values were for their team. Okay, go ahead. You don't have to stand up, be loud.
I'll be last. Okay, so for the question team, we had professionalism, dedication, competence, confidence, discipline, and commitment.
Excellent. Excellent. One more. One of the men's teams. I'm sorry, I can't see. I hear names, I hear words. Go ahead.
Alright, for the soccer team, we got reliable, confident, hardworking, selflessness, and respectful.
Great. So listen, right? So now we know if I'm on a team and 80% of my team have that same value, that better be part of what we represent every day. We step on the pitch, we step on the field, everything that we do, right? Because if you're saying this defines me as a person, and your team is saying this defines us as a team, then you better live up to that standard every single time. And that speaks to process. That puts you in a position for the success, that outcome goal that you wanted, right? And so it also, again, goes back to reputation. So reputation. And that reputation is it's all encompassing for you as young people, especially with social media being as it is, and all of the different ways in which you are under the microscope. So just as a student athlete, you're already under a different microscope than anyone else on campus. That's just the reality, okay? And then you throw in social media, and you throw in being at events, and everything is tenfold. So it's important for you to understand that as a fan too, right? When you're a fan at another team's event, you're still representing yourself as an individual, your team, right? You should be proud when you have that Emory Henry thing across your shirt, your chest, your jersey. You represent that at all times. And that includes when you're a fan. And so again, make sure however you're conducting yourself or behaving lives up to those standards. Does not say you can't have fun, right? Scream, yell, cheer, do whatever it is you want. But demeaning an opponent, that's not really something that would live up to the words that I just heard, right? So think about that. And coaches, I would challenge you to do the same. You know, I know a lot of coaches work game management, or there are athletes or teams that have reputations as fans. They're a reflection of you. They're always a reflection of the reputation of your team. And so coaches should take leadership in that too and say, hey, when you're a fan at a game, this is how I expect you to conduct yourselves. They're always under your wing. You're the parent for these young men and women when they're away from home. It's a huge responsibility. Huge responsibility. And the impact you can have on them is immeasurable. And the coaches will make you into the young men and women that you are upon graduation. You have no idea how lucky you are to have that role model, that mentor in your life. It's a huge difference. So think critically about that and maximize that opportunity. So reputation, again, reputation is like a sandcastle. And when you go out and try to get a job in the working world, one of the first things that they will do is look at your social media. Right? So I implore you all to try to be as responsible as you can with how you use social media, because it will make the difference between you getting a job and not getting a job. Between getting accepted into graduate school and not getting accepted into graduate school. And that footprint stays with you. Because as an employer, I don't have context on your post that you wrote. Right? I don't know that you were just out having a good time with your friends and you were just pulling a prank on somebody or whatever it might be. I don't have that context. So I get it. You want to have that freedom of expression to say and do what you want to do, and it's private and all those things. But the reality is it's not private, and it's always going to be a reflection of you as an individual. It's going to be part of your reputation. And I've heard of countless incidences where people have lost jobs, or not received jobs, or not gotten into school, or not gotten a scholarship based on what they put out there on social media. So it's something that you have to take with great care and responsibility. It's very important that you just understand that. And these things all tie in together, and it's a culture of excellence, right? The values that we talk about as teams, as individuals, how we handle process, how hard we work. It puts you in a position for success when you graduate and do great things in this world upon graduation, which is what this is all about. Sports is, that's just the vehicle to get you to learn all these great characteristics about yourself, about your teammate, to grow. But the most important thing is that when you graduate, you're a productive member of society. And there are countless examples in society where we're failing in that area. But I truly believe that educators, that coaches, and athletes are sort of, the greatest line of leadership in our society. Again, you've been tested in ways that others haven't. And you've prepared to do great things in life by your experiences. And that can go both ways. I remember I was watching, this was years ago, there was a basketball game, the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers. And this guy, Ron Artest, who played for Indiana at the time, he had a reputation as being a hothead. And he would get thrown out of games a lot, he'd get technical fouls all the time, and just had a reputation of being a bad boy. And so he took the ball to the basket, he got fouled really hard by a guy from the Pistons, Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace is a big dude. And so Artest actually made a really mature decision at that time. Instead of getting in his face, he walked away from him. And he went over and he sat down on the scores table. And the two teams came together, but nothing happened. And then the fans on site started to throw things. And a fan hit Ron Artest with like a styrofoam cup, just a cup. Wasn't a foul, wasn't anything like that. And so that upset Ron Artest. So he jumps off the scorer's table, runs over one of the officials who's sitting at the table, an older gentleman, knocks him over, goes up into the stands, and starts throwing punches at someone who was not even the person that threw it. And now fans, a couple of fans go on the court, and they're getting beat up by players. And so players are going into the stands, fans are coming onto the floor, people are getting punched in the face, possibly seriously injured because guy got hit with a cup. What else are you going to do, right? You got to defend yourself, you got hit by a cup. You know how dangerous those cups can be, right? Think about it. It's crazy. But that is the ultimate act of selfishness. I got hit by a cup, somebody's going to pay for that. The time to be the big man would have been when you got fouled hard and there's a giant sitting across from you. Why didn't he take that opportunity to be a big man? Right? So because he's so important and so selfish, countless people were injured in the arena that day. And there was an image of a kid who's probably a 10-year-old kid who sat there and he's holding on to his mom's arm and tears are just streaming down his face. There's kids at the game, they got to see this violence because somebody got hit by a cup. And so it was unbelievable to witness. And so then they go back to the studio and the commentators, I'm like, all right, well, it'd be interesting to see what they have to say about it. And so one of the commentators said, the fans deserve that. They deserve that. They should have never thrown those cups. They got everything that came to them, and this should be happening more because fans need to know how they need to behave. And I'm thinking, is this really what the expectation is in society? That we have that low of values and thoughts and appreciation for individuals and respect for people, that this is somehow okay and acceptable? Same thing happened where I was watching a football game. It was Florida State and Florida, big in-state rival. At the end of the game, Florida State wins. They grab the gator head. They go in the middle of the field and they start stomping on it. And the next thing you know, there's a huge fight. Both teams are cleared off. They're all fighting. They're interviewing the coach during this thing. And you kind of see everybody in the background get knocked around. And the coach goes, that's unfortunate, but I tell you what, we kicked their butts today, we did this, we did that. It's just like, you're the coach. There's a massive fight going on. You should be over there. So, I have this piece that I want to read to you. It's called The Disease of Low Expectations. It's from a sports ethicist. His name is Michael Josephson. And it speaks to, the word speaks to society, but it's also very specific to sport. And it says the following: the serious damage done to our economy, social institutions, and personal relationships by widespread cheating and dishonesty is bad enough. But the acceptance of these behaviors as inevitable threatens to make our future a lot worse. In effect, our culture is being infected by a disease, the disease of low expectations. The disease is manifested by the corrosive assumption that human nature can't be expected to withstand pressure or temptation. In other words, when there's a conflict between self-interest and moral principles, self-interest, in fact short-term self-interest, will prevail. Thus, when a politician lies to get elected or a student cheats to get into college,
or an executive commits fraud to save their job, we blame the system rather than the individual. Under the influence of the disease of low expectations, an increasing army of apologists that argue that both the carrot and the stick, previously thought of as valid motivating techniques, should be condemned and eliminated as corrupting influences that create irresistible pressure to cheat. A school superintendent once said, "Cheating isn't the problem, it's the way we test." We can't really expect students not to cheat, he implied, especially when the stakes are so high. I wonder whether he would be as comfortable with a similar explanation of the corporate scandals. Fraudulent accounting isn't the problem, it's the way we compensate executives. Don't buy into this pessimistic and perverted perspective about human nature. Cheating is wrong and harmful, and integrity is real and possible. It just takes character. And so that sums up much of what we're trying to mold in you as young men and women, and I will add this. Don't ever sacrifice your integrity for a tangible reward or win, because that will become a learned behavior, and when you are faced with an adverse situation, your tendency is going to be, I need to cheat to get past this obstacle. Rather than working harder and applying yourself, it's going to be revert to what's the easy way out? What's the quickest solution? And that mentality puts you in a bad place the older you get. So always make sure that you hold firm to the core values that you stated here today and that you stated as teams. So I wish you the best luck with the remainder of your semester and your athletic seasons. Thank you very much.